Psst. Hi, my name is Bertil. I think my mother left and she left the camera on, so I decided to hijack her channel. This episode will be about very old thing, like me, even though I'm a baby. Watch the entire video, like and subscribe. Love you. Bye.
Alright, welcome to my channel, Heidi's Corner, with me, Heidi, of course, with my lovely co-host, Stefan. There we go. And of course, always so lovely, Bertil. There. Damn that little thing. Okay. Another episode of Sunday Special. It's been quite a few months since the previous episode of Sunday Special. Last time was earlier this year with Japanese snacks. With my partner Katja, whom you've seen on my channel actually twice now, with the Japanese snacks, and we also discussed same-sex adoption issues in Poland and Eastern and Hungary as well. They're just making things quite damn difficult when it comes to same-sex relations, etc., etc. But that is not the point of today's video. As the video title suggests, today I'll be talking to you about a gravesite, a almost 1,000-year-old gravesite found in Finland. Later in this video, I will come to show you how, or at least try to explain to you as to why this finding is so damn important for all, especially intersex people, as well as other diversity of gender and biological sex. Okay, so what exactly do we have here? We have a gravesite from the Middle Ages, from Suontaka. It's a small village or an area in a small town of Hattula, Finland. This was originally found. This gravesite was found back in 1968. So that would be 53 odd years ago. This was because even now, even more so back in 1968, we still have strict social norms when it comes to gender, biological sex, gender expression, and what a binary male and female is supposed to look like. But every now and then, a child is born and their body doesn't match what we would, or the society would, you typically expect from a biological sex or biological sex or gender, or what would be expected of their chromosomal karyotype, or based on their, because typically a child is gendered or assigned the gender their genitals look the more off. So, because every 1 in 100 or so children do not physically match the do not exactly match the binary, what we would expect, or the midwife and the doctors would and the parents would expect the child to be binary male or female. Okay, so I think we first will go to an article from Smithsonian Magazine, which is, well, as the name suggests, published by the Smithsonian Institute in the US, which is a highly respected institute. Okay, so Smithsonian Magazine: mysterious Iron Age burial may hold remains of elite non-binary person. What do we gather from here? The Finnish grave's occupant likely had Klinefelter Syndrome, meaning they were born with an extra copy of X chromosome. Those born with XXY are typically assigned male at birth, because their physical makeup or gender makeup would typically correspond to that of male genitalia. And of course, it's all going back to the genitals. Why are people so goddamn obsessed with the genitals of an infant? Come on, seriously. Anyway, and it goes on to say, this is written by Livia Gershon, and this is from August 10th. 2021, so this is very, very, very fresh. Okay, and it goes on to say that for decades archaeologists have debated the significance of a 900-year-old grave containing the remains of a person dressed in women's clothing, or those that would typically be associated with female clothing, and buried alongside a hiltless sword. I think hilt is the handle of a sword. Correct me if I'm wrong. And after its discovery in 1968 at Suontaka Vesitorinmäki. Vesitorinmäki would literally translate to water tower hill. Basically, water towers are typically on a hill. Anyway, in Suontaka, Hattula, Finland. Some researchers suggest that the tomb belonged to a female warrior, while others argued that it contained both a man and a woman. This is what I meant when I've been talking about the presupposition that that the society still has today, but had even stronger back then. There are only two binary genders: male and man and a woman, male, female, X, Y, XX. But that is not the case. There are so many chromosomal so much variation of chromosomal karyotype in humans. I've heard a guy argue that it's male and female and there's just variations of biological male and female. No, that is bullshit. That is not the case. And those who still dare to claim that, go with that argument, can go and piss off, in my opinion. And the Hiltless, there was the presupposition that there were a man, or that there was a female warrior, and or there was a male and a female in the same grave, came from the two swords. One was hiltless and the other was very intricate, that would only be or was thought to be only seen with men. That only the sword only gave the impression of there being both male and female, which is curious. For example, I have a low voice, but I'm female. I'm legally female. My passport and ID, everything, social security number, everything says I'm female. And I have a female name, Heidi, or Heidi, which the Anglo-Saxon world would pronounce it. Yet recently, when I had to have my password reset at work from my work intranet, email, etc., I had an issue with the IT tech, refusing to believe that I am who I claim I am, or who I said I was, because but you've got a man's voice. I was like, why the fuck do I have to come out to every as trans every single person I call to who doesn't know me? Why? If you have any idea as to why, please let me know in the comment section down below. And there are of course links. Before you go any further, please check the links down below, subscribe, tickle the bell, and thumbs up or thumbs down. Anyway, moving on. There, the sword. It's quite intricate, don't you think? This isn't finished, but it reads. There are pictures up here. It's quite. It's quite interesting. This one here says physical description: double-edged iron sword, handle is bronze. The tip of the sword is corroded by rust, so the edge has it's been longer. The sword has been longer, and it's 6 centimeters wide, and from the side of the handle is 6 centimeters wide. That's about, I think, 2 inches, and getting narrower towards the tip, as we can see here. And it's flat, and yeah, it's there's quite a bit of description in Finnish, and I will not translate all of it for you right here, right now. And I hope you don't mind that I won't do so, because I'm a lazy ass. But if someone later on wishes me to, if someone wants me to translate that for you later on, I can of course provide you with that, with the full translation of the text. And this is held by the Finnish Heritage Agency, in the archaeology collection or artifact collection, and the length is 92 centimeters, which is 8 centimeters. Yeah, so yeah, that's quite. It's almost a meter. Sorry, I'm not good at math, but hey, 92 centimeters is quite long. Anyway, it's made between 810 and 1050 Anno Domini, which would fall between the Iron Age and the Viking era, and it's metal and iron, and the handle is metal bronze. Anyway, there we go with the weapon. So the original, where it came, the new study originated from is the University of Turku, Finland, which is in the southwestern coast of Finland. You could go Google it yourself. And there we have, in a press release from July 27th of this year, anyway, titled "Modern Weapon Grave in Suontaka Hattula in Finland reveals flexible gender roles in early Middle Ages." Okay. Anyway, it goes on to say that the modern reanalysis of a weapon grave found in Suontaka Hattula in Finland over 50 years ago challenges the traditional belief that gender roles in the Iron Age and early Middle Ages or the early medieval communities reveals information about the gender expression of the period. The grave also functions as a proof of how non-binary people could have been valued and respected members of their community. In 1968, a sword with a bronze handle was found in Suontaka Hattula, Finland, during a digging project of a water pipe. As I said, it's the water tower hill that it translates to English if translated literally. Anyway, the sword led to a discovery of a grave that was almost 1,000 years old. And the grave has since become rather well known for the objects it contained. And those who are sensitive to illustrations of honorable drawn illustration of graves of the era, please skip the next minute or two. Okay, and here is the illustration of the grave, and the grave with the sword with the handle was actually placed there after the initial burial, and that was the reason. It was thought to be a double grave, double burial, a man and a woman. All right. The jewelry inside the grave indicates that the buried individual was dressed in a typical female clothing of the period. Yeah. Keep this in mind as we go further. Okay. Keep this in mind when we go further into the chromosomes, the sex chromosomes, and etc. Later on in this video. Keep this in mind. Okay. On the other hand, the person was buried with a sword, possibly two, according to some interpretations, which is often associated with masculinity. over the decades, the Suontaka grave has been considered to be either a double burial, as I mentioned, of both a woman and a man, or alternatively, a weapon grave of a female, and therefore a proof a strong female leaders or even female warriors in late Iron Age Finland. However, new study challenges both of these views. And why is it so goddamn important to that there would be female signs of female warriors? It's important because at the time, especially at the time and now, strong female figures are somewhat of a peculiarity in modern and past culture, because typically the Western masculine culture wouldn't expect or not even allow strong female figures or warriors. That is why it's so important to have these strong female figures and make believe of female warriors, which might not always be the case. It might be just make believe. So why does this finding make it so important? Because it's this person found, whose grave has now been found, would most likely was intersex, some form of intersex, which you might or might not be willing to accept from that time, and having such honorable burial in this way. All right. So the study confirmed that only one person had been buried in the grave, and that person was wearing typical feminine clothes of the period and a hiltless sword placed on their left hip. The buried individual seems to have been a highly respected member of their community. They had been laid into grave on a soft feather blanket with valuable furs and objects, says doctoral candidate of archaeology Ulla Moilanen from University of Turku. And mind you, this is a press release from the University of Turku at this point. This is what got me interested. There's the sword from the picture of the sword from the Finnish Heritage Agency. Okay, so the analysis challenges notions of traditional gender division. All right, the buried individual was studied using an ancient DNA analysis. The DNA was badly damaged, but the analysis suggested that the buried individual had sex chromosomal aneuploidy XXY, the Klinefelter Syndrome. According to the current data, it is likely that the individual found in Suontaka had chromosomes XXY, although DNA results are based on a very small data, emphasizes postdoctoral researcher Elina Salmela from the University of Helsinki. So, what really actually is Klinefelter's syndrome? It is a condition where the person's sex chromosomes present, or the the chromosomal karyotype is XXY, not, and they present, and they are typically assigned male at birth due to their external genitalia that look like at birth appear to look like typical genitalia of a cis male. Hence, they are typically assigned male at birth. So, and Klinefelter is just it's just you can't say just because the reasons it's not it's one of many conditions that would typically be considered intersex, something not not something strictly binary when it comes to physical representation of the person's biological sex at birth. And there are, I think, as far as I can tell, about 18 or so different configurations of sex chromosomes alone in humans. So it's not, and 1 in 100 live births, the baby's external genitalia isn't simply either or explicitly either or. The external genitalia and the internal genitalia could be much different. For example, there's over testes, there's testicular tissues or of all testicles in the place of ovaries, hence the name over testes. But that is a whole lot different story. What are the telltale signs, shall we say, or clinical symptoms, if you will, of Klinefelter syndrome? I wouldn't call them clinical symptoms because it's not being Klinefelter or any other form of intersex. It's not an illness. It's just variation within normal. So it's normal, abnormal is not always that clear. So as for the telltale signs of Klinefelters, at the University of Turku website of the press, in the press release, says Klinefelter syndrome vary from one person to another and are often mild enough that the syndrome might go unnoticed. This is correct, factually correct. Although a person with XXY chromosomes are usually anatomically male, the syndrome may also cause, for example, breast growth, diminished muscle mass, or infertility. And then we go for the dicks who claim they're just men. Yes, they're typically anatomically male, but they, due to the extra X chromosome, it's not that straightforward. Yeah, it's not that simple, because breast growth, there is a term, gynecomastia. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but means breast growth. Typically, men, because big, overweight men typically have some growth resembling what's called man boobs, but this is beyond man boobs. Anyway, according to Moilanen, that is the researcher, doctoral candidate of archaeology, Ulla Moilanen, goes on to say that the individual buried in Suontaka may be an example of an individual whose social identity settles outside the traditional division of genders. Yeah, this is very true. This is an interesting case. Really interesting case. Not least because this case is from Finland, and actually besides I have family coming come from that small town. Anyway, she goes on to say that if characteristics of Klinefelter syndrome have been evident on the person, they might not have been considered strictly male or female in the early Middle Ages community, and it would have been a big deal at the time, I would assume, about 900 years ago, because it's still a big deal in some communities, which it shouldn't be an issue, but it is. Don't ask me why. Alright? The abundant collection of objects buried in the grave is proof that the person was not only accepted but also valued and respected. However, biology does not directly dictate person's self-identity. Moilanen reminds, and there's the handle of the other sword that would have been placed there after the initial burial at a later point in time. And this picture, as I said, it's from the Finnish Heritage Agency. It looks quite fancy, I think. Anyway, there is the drawing of the grave, or the illustration, this one, which is quite a nice one. I think that one does justice, a big justice to the burial site, drawing by Veronika Pashenko. Okay, and the study revealed that out of the two swords found in the grave, only one belonged to the original burial setting. The impressive sword with bronze handle has probably been hidden in the grave at a later point after the original burial. This is, and Moilanen goes on to say, this also emphasizes the importance of the person and their memory for their community, because it's this person's grave. And peer-reviewed study has been published in European Journal of Archaeology, and said peer-reviewed article is here. Cambridge University Press, European Journal of Archaeology. This is not just some random group of random Finns coming up with some fabulous shit. So they are real actual researchers that get their stuff, their study published in a respected scientific journal, which is peer reviewed. This article, I mean, is peer review, has passed peer review, mind you. This is not just some journal for some woo peddlers who just come up with some fabulous shit, put it together, and go print it and sell it. No. This is a peer-reviewed article in a respected scientific journal, which gives this credit, immense credit to this study. Anyway, a link to this study, an article on the Cambridge University Press and more specifically the European Journal of Archaeology. You'll find the link in the description box down below. You can go and check it out, but I'm going to read the abstract for you here so you can get some idea right now what it's about. Okay, abstract: a woman with a sword, weapon, grave at Suontaka Vesitorninmäki, Finland, and published on July 15th online by Cambridge University Press. In 1968, a weapon grave with brooches was found in Suontaka Vesitorninmäki, Hattula, Finland. Since then, the grave has been interpreted as evidence of powerful women or even female warriors, which would have been a big deal at that time, and it would still be, with a sword, and tried to explain it as a double burial. That is, okay. We present the first modern analysis of the grave, including examination of its content, a soil sample analysis for micro remains, and an that's ancient DNA analysis. Based on these analyses, we suggest new interpretation. The Suontaka grave possibly belonged to an individual with sex chromosomal aneuploidy XXY, Klinefelter Syndrome. The overall context of the grave indicates that it was a respected person whose gender identity may well have been non-binary. Yeah, and there's in French and German as well, which you can stop right now the video right now and read the abstract in your own, if your native language is one of these, French or German. So why would this be important? Because, as this abstract said, people have been trying for decades, trying to desperately explain it away from pointing towards something other than male, binary, male or female. Okay? Yes. I tried to explain it as a double burial. Double burial. Oh, for fuck's sake, come on, why can't it be a tomboy warrior? Even though if the person buried there was cis female, but if the cis female was a tomboy and a warrior, so fucking what? Why cannot a female be a respected warrior, for fuck's sake? Why? Please explain to me why. Why is it even today an issue? Okay. It's just, I don't get it. Maybe someone else does, but I don't. So what do we gather from all this? Intersex people have existed for thousands of years. It's not just some idiots say that it's just a new thing. It was invented. It was just invented a few decades ago. No, you idiots. No, it wasn't. Nobody, quote unquote, invented this, that people are intersex. It's not a new thing. I mean, this person who was buried there, they didn't find, even though the DNA sample wasn't perfect wasn't peachy keen perfect state or condition, it still showed an extra copy of X chromosome. It showed chromosomes XXY, not XY or XX, XXY. So this has been dated between 1050 and 1300 Anno Domini. So it's not that straightforward. So the authors of the study go on to say that, go on to argue that, and I quote, that the individual may have been highly regarded due to their non-binary status, or, and I quote, because they already had a distinctive or secured position in the community for other reasons. For example, by belonging to a relatively wealthy and well-connected family. Yeah, or both. But anyway, it's still, this person still had an extra copy of an extra X chromosome. Yeah. Okay, let's go to one final article, and then I'll talk a bit more about this, in my opinion, what this means. Okay, so this is from Smithsonian Magazine, and here is the drawing by Veronika Pashenko. Okay, this just goes on to say that it's about people trying to woo pedal it to make it look something that it isn't. For decades, archaeologists have debated the significance of a 900-year-old grave containing the remains of a person dressed in women's clothing and buried alongside a hiltless sword. It was discovered in Hattula, Finland in 1968, and it was suggested that it belonged to a female warrior. Again, suppositions after another. Presupposition. You cannot presuppose that is a woman, even if the person is wearing female clothing. So it goes on to say that about the article of the Finnish archaeologists, that that it belongs to a person who was most likely intersex and born with atypical chromosomes, which in this case would have been Klinefelter chromosomes XXY, as I've gone through, and non-binary as which wouldn't then fit their ideology of a respected male-female warrior or a female leader. Okay, so it's not that straightforward. And there's a guy from NPR, Xaret Nunez, reporting that the person had a condition called Klinefelters, which isn't a new term for anyone at this point. And what they go on to explain it like people actually didn't know. Anyone who attended school beyond probably third grade. Anyone who has attended any sort of school beyond third grade knows that females are typically born with XX and males with X and Y. And if you have to explain the second grade, third grade material to adults, well, you'll figure. And affected have typically mostly male characteristics, and it may be infertile, etc., etc. Here they go on to explain what Klinefelter is. So it as it goes on to say here as well, that findings couldn't confirm beyond reasonable doubt that the person had Klinefelters because the sample was so small, but it's but the researchers who went on to conduct the study are of the opinion this person was Klinefelters, the authors say, and it goes on to say that other scholars contacted by Owen Laris of Life Science agree. Then Peter Heinzmann, Pete Heinzmann, who's a DNA researcher in Arctic University of Norway, goes on to tell Life Science that the team had a minuscule amount of data to work with, but convincingly show that the individual likely had an XXY carrier type. Yes. It's not just, hey, you conservative dicks. It's not just this group of Finnish scientists. It's just other people, other scientists, contacted by Life Science, all respected scientists, like from a DNA researcher, actually, not an archaeologist, a doctor, or an MD, or a geologist, physicist, is a DNA researcher, this Pete Heinzmann, from the Arctic University of Norway, which is a respected university. Per the study, early medieval Scandinavia is often viewed as, and I quote, ultra masculine society that considered men occupying female roles or dressing in feminine clothes shameful. Many still do these days, so we haven't come far in 900 years in many places, or we haven't actually moved forward in many, or people in many areas even in liberal Scandinavia haven't really gone far from being of the opinion that guys occupying female roles or dressing in women's clothing or feminine clothing is shameful. Being such a intolerant dick is shameful, and they should be ashamed of themselves for being such dicks. So, yeah. Anyway, but some evidence suggests that people living outside of a strict gender binary, which we still have 900 years later, we still do have a very, very, very strict gender binary. If you break that binary, no good will follow. Including ritual specialists or shamans maintained their own social niche. Yeah. Anyway, I can't take this. I mean, I could talk about this for who knows how long, but just for the sake of everyone else's sanity, I think it's time for conclusions. What do we have here? We have a person with Klinefelter Syndrome, which the person was highly respected in their society at the time, 900 odd years ago. Which is very unusual, because as previously stated, at the time, 1,000 years ago, the shamans, etc., and spiritual specialists, quote unquote, they had their own social niche, if you will. Even today it's difficult to be outside the binary, and going across, being transgender, getting the gender reassigned and legally and physically. So it mustn't not have been easy for this person to go through. But I'm happy in many, many ways that this has now come to light in so many different ways. Anyway, please let me know what you think in the comment section, or you can send me an email and to have an open discourse on this. And I challenge again people who disagree with me on these gender matters to debate me in whether, and the conversion therapy thing, whether or not it should or shouldn't be legal. my stand is that conversion therapy should be criminalized or banned. And then regarding sports, trans people in sports, I would like to reiterate this challenge to debate. I've made arrangements for a third party channel, neutral third party channel, to take us for a debate. Many people, there's been a number of people who have agreed to debates, but they've then chickened out. When I've asked them to send an email, they've chickened out. Perhaps not so sure of their opinions after all. Anyway, there's my email address in the description box down below. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. What I have for you today. In this second episode of Sunday Specials. I hope you enjoyed this episode this Sunday, and I would like to ask you to please like, thumbs up or thumbs down, and subscribe and tickle the notification bell for more such content. And please say goodbye to my lovely co-host Stefan. There we go. And of course my little very furry Bertil. Oh, little there. His hair is a bit messy. No. No. All right. I'll see you then. I'll see you. Oh, and the links are all of the links I've discussed today are in the description box. Down below there are my playlists, Discord server, etc. And now, bye.